We talk a lot about movies on parts of this channel, good movies, bad movies, whatever. A really good friend of mine, Ken Begg, is a huge fan of bad movies. Now, his argument for these movies goes like this. Almost every type of artistic endeavor, indeed, most statistics follow the bell curve. Now, obviously, most media, movies, TV shows, comics are in the mediocre middle. Stuff like Shazam, Fast and Furious 6, Fear the Walking Dead. Not bad, but not really memorable. I mean, I liked Shazam, but I'm sure I'll never watch it again. Though I love zombie movies, Fear the Walking Dead didn't keep my interest. These are usually the shows rated like 6 or 7 on IMDb. Now, some shows fall into the high category, the top 1 or 2% here at the narrow end of the bell curve. These are movies where everything went right. This is where Breaking Bad, The Dark Knight, or Raid: The Redemption live. These films are brilliant, and it has nothing to do with budget. Yes, The Dark Knight cost millions, but Raid: The Redemption was really low budget by American standards. It's from Indonesia, but it's one of the best action movies in all history, in my opinion. This is not a rating I bestow lightly. If you haven't seen it, wow. Anyway, now, everything going right is not budget. It's also not necessarily because you have a talented team. Now, my number one favorite perfect movie of all time is Casablanca. You might have heard of it. Now, Casablanca was a huge hit in theaters, so Warner Brothers decided they were going to catch that fire in the bottle again. So the very year after Casablanca, they did a film titled Passage to Marseille. It had a similar anti-Nazi, anti-Vichy France plot. The cast had the exact same actors, Claude Rains, Peter Lorre, Sidney Greenstreet. It had the same director, Michael Curtiz. It had the same producer, Hal B. Wallace. It features a bitter Humphrey Bogart, just like Casablanca, who by the end becomes anti-Nazi and fights for the cause, just like in Casablanca. So, why have you never heard of Passage to Marseille? Because despite all the studio's efforts to get a second Casablanca, Passage to Marseille just doesn't have the magic. The actors seem less vested, the dialogue is less snappy. Nothing about it works quite as well. Now, Passage to Marseille isn't a bad movie. It's rated a 7 on IMDb. I liked it, but I haven't seen it again. But Passage to Marseille also isn't a deathless masterpiece. And Casablanca is a deathless masterpiece. What I'm saying is that the studio did everything they could to ensure another Casablanca blockbuster, and they failed because something intangible was missing. Was it luck? Was it a series of coincidences? Was it some clever ad-libs? Who knows? I don't. I mean, if I knew what made a movie great, I'd quit games and go make an endless series of great movies. But as things stand, it's clear that no one knows how to make perfect movies every time. Even Steven Spielberg. Anyway, my point is that only a few movies are way up in the top 100% up here. The vast majority are here in the middle, but there's also only a few truly terrible movies way down here at the bottom 1%. Now, most terrible movies are just like dumb or boring, like Baby Geniuses, Pearl Harbor, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I mean, they might have a moment or two, but they're tedious to watch. But that bottom 1% of truly amazing bad movies, which are not just bad, but entertaining. If you've seen Robot Monster or The Room or Manos, The Hands of Fate, then I'm sure you said something like, man, I could do better than that. But could you? Those movies, terrible as they were, had a director, a producer, actors who often got paid, a cameraman, editor, etc., etc. They had a whole team. How could it have gone so wrong? What were they thinking? How many things have to go bad to make a movie so terrible it's in the bottom 1%? It's not just being sloppy. Those give you a mediocre and dull film, not the bottom 1%. You need to have inspiredly bad acting and a series of super terrible decisions all put together to get the miracle that is a 1%er. So my Ken friend asks, isn't it educational to see these terrible movies? To see what decisions they made to bring about this triumph of awful cinema? Well, my answer is yes. Yes, it is. So I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 of the worst movies ever made and how fun they are to watch. Only 3, because heaven knows you can find other sites to check this out. So, there's a movie titled Troll 2. Oh my God! Here are some fun facts about it. Usually when I talk about Troll 2 to people who haven't heard of it, I say, hey, tell me what you think Troll 2 is about just from the title. And what they say is, well, it's about trolls. And then I say, it's not about trolls. There's no trolls in the whole movie. And they go, and it's a sequel? And I say, nope, not a sequel to anything. So that everything in the title is a lie. And the title is just Troll 2. Now, Troll 2 did spawn a kind of a good movie. There is a documentary called Best Worst Movie. And this is about the making of Troll 2. Not the making of it, but about what happened, the 20-year anniversary of it, when the people who were in it found that this was rated the #1 movie on the IMDb. And of course, as you know, if you're the #1 movie, that means there's 100,000 movies that are higher than you. So you were the bottom rated movie. It's no longer at the bottom because newer movies have got more people voting for it. But really, it was bad. So it was filmed in Utah, a place I grew up in, by Claudio Fragasso. The Best Worst Movie is really good to watch. I recommend watching Troll 2, then watching Best Worst Movie. Now, Claudio, in the documentary Best Worst Movie, hilariously, they interview Claudio Fragasso and his team of guys in Italy before they come over for the 20-year anniversary. And hilariously, they think that Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter exist thanks to Troll 2, because Troll 2 showed you could have magic in movies, and it was never done before then, I guess. So thank you, Troll 2, for giving us Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. If you haven't seen Troll 2, it's amazing. In every detail, you'll be very entertained. Now, let's talk about Robot Monster. Now, Robot Monster was super cheap. I think he's told people it was less than $1,000 because he didn't want to admit it was like $50. He got he got a gorilla suit instead of a robot suit because it was cheaper and you can get the gorilla suit for free. It's got... Let me summarize Robot Monster's awesome special effects. There's one scene where there's a space station, and the effects are so good, you almost can't see the hand holding and twirling the space station in space. Almost. It has one of the famously worst endings of all time. Just when you thought this movie couldn't get worse, it gets worse. It's amazing. Every second is super entertaining. I am sure you'll enjoy it. It's also only 66 minutes long, so it does not overstay its welcome. It ends just when it should. So it does something right. Now, stop. I take it back. I'm not going to recommend you see this movie. Monster A Go-Go's ending is so bad that it has made my life worse just knowing about it. It's only 69 minutes long. I regret ever seeing it, so don't. Bill Rebane, one of the worst directors in history, started off making a movie, then he gave up on it halfway through. Then five or 7 years later, Herschel Gordon Lewis, one of the worst directors in history, finished the movie. And it's just, let's move on. Let's not talk about that. It doesn't count as one of the 3 movies I'm going to talk about.
It's really good.
Moby Dick! Hey, I read Moby Dick when I was 11 years old. If you haven't read it, it's well worth the time spent. It really is the great American novel. Now, if you've read the book and you can track down the 1930 version of Moby Dick, it is amazing what egocentric maniacs Hollywood were even back then. Now, as you know, it's generally agreed Moby Dick is one of the greatest books in the history of the world. You'd think that Hollywood, even back in the good old days, would have the brains to follow the actual plot of the greatest novel ever penned. Or, a candidate for it. Nope. In fact, here's the opening scene of the book. Now, as was common back in the day, when a film was made from a book, they'd show the book opening on screen, and then they showed the first few lines of the book. Notice anything with the first few lines of this book? The single most famous opening line of any book in all literature is not there. Call me Ishmael. That's how Moby Dick opens. Everyone should know that. It's not there. Look, it's something else. So, right there, something's wrong. So as the ship heaves into New Bedford, look at this funny guy clowning around in the rigging. Who is this hilarious rapscallion? Why, it's none other than Captain Ahab himself. Yes, that Captain Ahab, the grim guy who in the book says things like,
"From hell's heart I stab at thee."
The most famously grim, obsessed sailor captain in all fictional history. His only possible competitor is Wolf Larsen from Jack London's The Sea Wolf, which I also recommend, by the way. Anyway, Ahab loses his leg in the movie, then he chases after Moby Dick. Now, in the book, he lost his leg before the book starts, which is fine, whatever. We get to see him lose his leg. And he does chase after Moby Dick, that's for sure. But in the end of this movie, he catches Moby Dick. He kills Moby Dick. He renders him down for blubber. Then he goes home to marry his sweetheart. Heck, he probably grows his leg back. It's a happy ending catastrophe. It is the worst version of a book turned to film I can imagine. I could go on longer with more of these movies, but why? There's lots of fine websites directing you towards terrible movies. You don't need me. I've only scratched the surface. You still have The Room, Daniel der Zauberer, and other such delights ahead of you. And now you know I know about these too. Like me. Sign up, subscribe to me. Get notifications if you like. And remember to check out my website where you can get awesome things like this right now. Thanks.